When is the last time that you apologized to a political opponent for saying something that, as you thought about it, you really should not have said?
In 2008, it was here in Iowa, and I had innocently had a conversation with a New York Times reporter, which was my first mistake. And in that conversation, he knew a lot more about Mitt Romney's faith than I did. And he was telling me a lot about that faith. I just didn't simply have a lot of knowledge. And I asked him a question because I honestly had heard that it was a doctrine of the faith, and I wanted to know. And I asked him the question. He put it in the story, and it came off to people as if I was making a derogatory comment, which I was not, and it was not my intention. But I realized that it truly hurt Mitt, and he took it personally. And we were on the stage. I think the debate was maybe at Des Moines University. It was a televised debate. ABC had televised it. The first time I had seen him since this all had come out. And I went up to him and I said, I want to apologize. It was never my intention to hurt you, to say anything derogatory about your faith. I would never do that. I would never want someone to do that about me. And I genuinely am sorry. And I apologize that I hurt you. And I felt very horrible about it because it was not what I wanted to do. It's not who I am. I'm a lot of things, but I'm not a person that likes to go and intentionally hurt anyone. I've had to hurt some people in my life politically. I've had to fire a lot of people as governor. When you preside over 60,000 employees, some don't work out so well, and you get rid of some. I should apologize for not getting rid of a lot more. The toughest job I ever had was carrying out the death penalty. People talk about they're for the death penalty. They think it's justified. I get that. But it's one thing to theoretically talk about it, to speak about signing a warrant that ultimately will result in a person's death. But until you have actually put your signature to that warrant, and until you have been on that open line for a little more than 2 hours with the director of your correction system, and you finally, when he gives that question to you and says, the inmate is on the gurney, we have the IV going, is there any reason we should not continue with this execution? And the words out of your mouth are going to result in the next 4 to 6 minutes of a human being dying. I'm going to tell you something. If that doesn't sober you up to reality, nothing will. And I had to carry that out more times than any governor in my state's history. It's not something that I rejoice in, proud of. It was my duty. I did it. And I did it with the conviction that that's what I had been elected to do, was to carry out the law. I tried to make sure that I never had to apologize to any person in that entire judicial system. And that's why I read every page of every file folder, sometimes many boxes of folder, to give every possible opportunity for that inmate or his attorney to convince me that that person should be spared. I took that job seriously because it was a life and death matter. I personally believe that a president has to be prepared to make life and death decisions. And they can never be made with a cavalier spirit. Because some of the decisions that I made as a governor for 10.5 years were decisions that the next governor could reverse, the legislature could override. Only one decision I ever made that was absolutely irrevocable, and that was the decision to carry out a death penalty. You better be right. It's the same kind of weight and responsibility that a president would have sending somebody into war. Because if somebody's child is sent into war and doesn't come back, you never want to look at that parent and say, I'm sorry, I should not have sent your child to war. You want to be able to look them in the eyes and say, I sent your child to war because it was the only and the best option we had to keep the rest of America safe and free. Frank, I tell you this because I do believe sometimes we live in a world where we issue cheap and quick apologies that don't mean anything. I don't apologize often because I don't apologize for something I said that offended somebody, because I don't think people have a right to not be offended. I apologize when I either foolishly or intentionally hurt someone. And I would always apologize for that. And I would want God's forgiveness as well as theirs.